great to be back with all of you today. Looking forward to finishing up our conversation today. We're talking all about emotions, emotional maturity, emotional intelligence, and taking some steps to all of us grow a little bit in the way that we handle our emotions. Because it was good to feel our emotions. We need to be honest with what emotions we're feeling, but the reactions, how do we handle that? So, another great conversation today. Looking forward to tonight. We have senior night for our daughter Abigail for her volleyball team. So
third daughter, so senior.
Yep. So it'll be a good time there, recognizing her for all that she has done. Always a fun time to be able to celebrate one of your kids. And we have Isabella came back last night. She had like a work meeting or something, and she's just like, "Hey, Mom, are you going to be home?" And asked for a meal. What was it you guys had?
She requested stroganoff. She likes that meal, so I had Abigail and Violet go to the store on the way home from volleyball to get me the ingredients that I didn't have. Yeah, it's always
had a little stroganoff. I was out with our men's night out at church. Went to Burger Bros here in Palm Coast. The burger I had was amazing, by the way. It was like some flaming something or other. It had Monterey Jack cheese, pepper jack cheese, I think. It had fresh jalapenos, some sort of chipotle aioli, mayonnaise, and then it had, and this was the thing that like sold it for me, it had fried jalapeno poppers. So they took jalapeno poppers, battered them, fried them, put them on the burger.
I'm hearing that it was a veggie burger. You had veggies on your burger.
Yeah.
Sounds healthy. Did you notice how his eyes light up when he talks about the burger? Like, he's happier about that than anything else.
I'm like talking about kids all sad, and I'm like, this hamburger I had was amazing.
For real, though. Nothing makes your eyes light up than when you're describing what's on a burger.
Yeah, it was so good. I mean, sometimes.
I'm just glad that something in life makes you happy.
Yeah. So this is what I'm thinking about this morning as we're having this conversation is where do you think has the best hamburger? Like, where do you get it from? Please don't say McDonald's or one of those fast food places.
Yeah, not to be a snob or anything. Like, we're not trying to be snobbish, but come on, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the worst of the worst hamburgers. So, although there are times where I'm just craving it's just the basic whatever cheeseburger they have at McDonald's. And I know it's garbage food, but every once in a while it's like, that's just what I want.
Yeah.
But I normally I don't care for McDonald's. So, what was that?
We're talking about emotions.
Oh, yeah.
Our favorite.
Yeah. So my emotions are very happy with the burger I had last night.
Your emotions.
Yeah.
Talking about burgers.
Okay.
Better get into this discussion, Dave.
Okay, let's see here. I think it looks like we're all lined up, ready to go. Gather around, everybody. It's time for a family meeting. The family meeting is a show that's all about family relationships. Well, and the thing is, too, like, the way they cooked the patty was perfect. It wasn't overdone. Sometimes you go to a place and the patty is just like, it's leather because they've overcooked it. This was spot on. And they had different choices for sides. Tater tots was what I had, and they were good.
I'm so glad you enjoyed your meal that night.
Yeah.
That's good.
We're the Osterkamps. I'm Thomas, and this is my wife, Lysandra.
Thank you for that intro.
Hey, did you guys, this past Sunday was Wife Appreciation Day, National Wife Appreciation Day.
Yeah, you didn't hear a whole lot about it on social media. It was like, but there's a day for everything.
I showed appreciation.
You did show.
I showed appreciation.
And when you did, I was like, what? I didn't know about Wife
Appreciation what's going on. But here's my main thought that I had was like, don't just show appreciation one day. In fact, that's something that the guys and I were talking about at Men's Night Out, was like show more appreciation for your wife for just all the things that they do, whether it's dishes or whatever else. So you deserve that amazing intro after Wife Appreciation Day.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Hello and welcome to our family. Welcome to episode 261 of the Family Meeting Podcast. On today's episode, we're going to discuss part 2 of emotional maturity and emotional integrity. We are talking about expressing emotions in a God-honoring way. Remember, emotions are a gift from God, but how we express them can either build up or tear down. And it is going to have a great effect on your marriage. So we are going to finish up that discussion today. But first, Thomas, what do you have for us?
You know, I mean, we mentioned marriage here, and we're having this conversation right now in our Facebook community group. And this is the question. When you go on a date, do you sit on the same side of the table or across from each other? So some people have some very strong opinions about this.
Yeah, because I feel like this question should be like, what do you do and why?
Yeah.
Because I would want to hear the answer of like the reason behind it. But what's interesting is people offered their why behind it. So I think that's kind of cool.
Some just offered, one-word answer. Erica Collins, Joe Salenza, just, hey, across. Like, that's what we do. Thomas Dolphin hopped on here and he said this: me and Allison always sit across from each other. That way we can have good conversation and I can always look her right in the eye. Plus, it leaves quite a bit of room for us both to work with. The only time we ever sit on the same side is on a double date. So, and I think there was somebody else that talked about that too. David Collins says, same side if in a booth, which makes sense to me. You can cuddle up nice and close. Opposite sides for tables with chairs. It works nicely since she's left-handed, I'm right-handed. But then, so they have the way that they do it, like booth next to each other, table and chairs across. My sister, Michelle Repke, says, with a booth across, table and chairs beside.
That's interesting. And there's no why, though. I wonder why.
So theirs were exactly the opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honey, we all, as humans, we have so many behavior things that we do that are just like rituals, routine. We always do the same exact thing. They're predictable.
Yeah.
And what's funny is everybody has a reason behind it, whether or not you've thought about it. Most of the time you don't. Well, not most of the time, but a lot of times you don't even think about why you do the things you do.
Yeah.
But there's always like a reason behind it. And I find human behavior very fascinating.
Bob Pizzuti?
I think it's Pizzuti.
Okay. Bob Pizzuti says, with my wife, ? Across, !
So like, yeah, you're not dating your mistress.
Yeah.
Wonder how your wife.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
He's funny.
And then Brianna Steffen says, across, unless we are with you guys.
Yeah, because if we go on a double date with Bree and Jason, Tom, everybody knows if they've ever gone out with us.
Yeah.
We sit on the same side.
Yeah.
Always. Chairs, booths, whatever. However, I will say this. Whenever we go into a restaurant, I always say, Jess, we'd like a booth if you have it.
Yes.
Always ask for a booth because why do we want to sit in a booth?
You can sit closer.
Yeah, we want to.
Just cuddle up and close.
Yeah.
And so I always want to be as close to you as possible. And it's always weird to me when people are like, want to sit across so that we can look at each other or we can have a conversation. I'm like, if you're watching YouTube right now, Lysandra and I are sitting right next to each other. We're looking each other in the eye while we're talking to each other.
Yeah.
So
funny.
It was possible. I don't know. Some people are like, maybe their neck is like stiff and so they can't turn. I don't know because
that's
because you can't have you have the best of all worlds. It's like you can be right close to each other. You can snuggle up. You don't have to talk as loud for one thing.
Yeah,
we can
a lot of times.
Or trying to hear each other.
And we do look into each other's eyes, and our eyes are a lot closer.
Yeah. So I just find it fascinating why people do the things that they do. And this is one of those questions where some people have very strong opinions. I know my opinion is very strong when it comes to this. It's like you sit next to each other all the time. It's like that. What song is that by Ed Sheeran where he talks about at every table, you save a seat?
Yeah, save a seat for me at every table, or save a seat for you at every table. Yeah.
So that's the idea. It's like everywhere I go, like I always, hey, Lysandra sitting right here. Like if we're not together, she's sitting right next to me.
And it's funny because like sometimes we lead pastors' wives groups on like outings where we have like a meetup. And so there's this long table with all these chairs. And the idea is that like the women can talk and the men can talk. Not that we're like trying to segregate, but there are things that women are going to want to talk about that, and then men have their own. Sometimes it's just nice, right? So Thomas and me, we get there early and we sit in the dead center.
Next to each other.
So that like women are this way and men are that way, and we're still sitting next to each other. And we do jump into each other's conversation.
Yeah, I want to talk with everybody.
Yeah.
Like I like to hear what the women are doing. I like to hear what the men are doing wherever we go. But it's like I want Lysandra next to me for a lot of reasons, especially in a group setting. So
it's emotional support buffer.
Yeah.
Speaking of emotions.
Yeah. But first.
No? Okay. I thought that was a great segue.
No, not a great segue. Because here's the thing. I think about this right here. Some people, maybe they're not going on dates, maybe they're having trouble in their marriage or whatever else, and you just need a little bit of marriage coaching. So, just had somebody sign up just the other day to have marriage coaching with Lysandra, and always a great opportunity when we have to get together with people over a Zoom call. And it's so simple. You fill out a little questionnaire. We got a few questions that we ask you, and then we set up the Zoom call so that we can look each other in the eye and have a little bit of a conversation and give you an action plan based upon how you fill out the questionnaire and how the conversation's going to help you take the step that you need to take in your marriage relationship, whatever that looks like. And so if that's something that you're interested in, we do have marriage coaching available. And go over to our website, familymeeting.org/shop. And we have 3 options available to you. You can have a marriage coaching or parenting coaching session with just Lysandra, just myself, or both of us together on the call. All 3 of those options are available for what you need. And as soon as that comes through, it lets us know that you want to schedule one. We'll send out the questionnaire and get you everything you need to set up that call. So go to familymeeting.org/shop and set up your coaching call today.
All right. So we are going to finish up our discussion about emotional maturity and emotional integrity. And I know that some of you maybe missed last week's episode. Maybe some of you have just kind of forgotten and need like a little refresher. So Thomas, can you refresh all of us? What is the difference between emotional maturity and emotional integrity?
Yeah. So I would encourage you to stop right now. If you're listening to this, you're watching this, just go back to episode 260. But for kind of a refresher here, that there is a difference between emotional maturity, emotional integrity. Emotional maturity is the idea of the ability to understand, regulate, and manage your emotions in a healthy and constructive way, especially in challenging situations. So, You understand what you're feeling, whatever that emotion is. Maybe it's anger, maybe it's sorrow, whatever it is. You know what you're feeling. You regulate, you can control it. So no matter how angry or upset I get in a situation, an emotional, mature person knows how to control themselves. So they're not having an outburst. They're not screaming, yelling, and swearing or punching or whatever. It's like, you can be angry, the scripture talks about it, be angry and sin not. Anger is an emotion, and our emotions, as Lysandra mentioned at the beginning of this episode, are created and given to us by God. They are good. We are emotional beings. Even the most hard, stone-cold of us, hard-hearted of us, we're emotional people. And it can be difficult there. Learning to control our emotions. And I bring up anger a lot because that is one of the biggest struggles I have, is learning how to control my anger and not let it get the best of me. And my anger used to be so out of control. And now it's pretty much just traffic in Iowa Hawkeye football games.
Project.
Oh, yeah, projects, yeah. Yeah, that's right.
Doing something or fixing something.
Yeah. So there's a few things, but even emotional maturity in that moment is to know, okay, I'm going to do a project. It's not going to go the way that I want it to. Yeah. It's not going to go smooth. Things are going to go wrong. So don't get angry when they do. And when I could remember to tell myself that, it's so much better. It's like, okay, when something goes wrong, I knew this was going to happen. It's fine.
Yeah, I saw this coming. When I was gone in Iowa and you did a bunch of projects around the house, you texted me, I think it was a Sunday night, and if I remember correctly, you texted me and said, well, 5th time to Lowe's today.
Yeah.
Like you were heading back to Lowe's for more, whatever, because you kept running into things. And I know that kind of stuff makes me angry. Like, I don't get angry about a lot of things, but having to go back and forth to the store 5 times to accomplish a project would make me angry.
Well, and Lysandra had picked out these light fixtures that we have. I hung one in the dining room, and then it's the same style from the same company, and it's a single light that is flush with the ceiling versus hanging down over like a table or whatever. And so in the kitchen, we had like this old, it looked like it was like in some industrial something or other. It's just a long fluorescent tubes in it, just like the basic like horrible thing. So you've been wanting to replace that for a while.
Since we moved in.
And so she bought one exactly like the one in the dining room that's intended to hang down. So it's not intended to be flush with the ceiling, but because of it's in the kitchen and it's not directly over the island where it would be fine if it hung down, has to be flush. So I take the other one down, and they literally only have it fastened to the drywall.
Yeah,
so,
like that light could have fallen it.
Yeah, so it's not to studs. There's nothing solid that is hanging to. So I'm like, that's the first problem. So I got to figure out, okay, now how am I going to hang this thing? And then I had to rework this whole light just to be able to be flush and drill holes in it and just do all this stuff. So it wasn't like you could just go get the stuff and put it up. It was like I had to take all these steps to customize it and do all this stuff. And it's like, oh, I didn't know that's the exact length I needed until I actually got into it and started. So, but I was fine. It was frustrating, but I didn't let my anger get the best of me, which is, I will take that as that's a win. So that's maturity, is understanding the emotion you're feeling and being able to control and handle them. So then you flip the coin and we're talking about emotional integrity. Let's see, where is it? Okay. So emotional integrity is characterized by honesty. So you are understanding what you're feeling, which these kind of go hand in hand, but I'm demonstrating the emotions that I'm actually feeling inside. I'm being honest with myself and others about my emotions, even when it's uncomfortable. So, for instance, a lot of times for guys, okay, so I'm saying a lot of times because I know there are guys who are very comfortable and they grew up in an environment where it was okay to cry and to show that kind of emotion. But for a lot of us guys, especially my generation and older, we were taught like, please don't cry, you don't cry. And so when I feel sorrow, I feel sadness, instead of just pretending like I'm okay when I'm not, being able to freely express those emotions in a proper way.
I think it's hard, maybe in general, for men to say, like, you hurt my feelings, because that sounds like so childish and girly in a way.
Yeah.
But the truth is, like, I do have the ability to hurt your feelings.
Yes, most people do not. So it would be very rare that someone would have the ability. It's my personality type.
Mm.
So
yeah. So that's the difference between emotional maturity and emotional integrity.
And it's funny because like you are way more emotionally mature than me, but you've had a hard time being emotionally honest more than I would say.
Yeah, by far. Yeah. And what's cool is, and we shared this last week, when we got married and once we started kind of living together and existing together, we started helping each other with this. So like Thomas has become much more emotionally mature and I have become much more, how would you say that?
honest.
I've had more emotional integrity.
Yeah.
Since we have gotten together.
Well, and this is the thing too, and I think we touched on this a little bit last week. If not, we'll touch on it here. Just a lot of times, and this is a kind of a stereotype and a joke for a reason, women will be like, "Oh, I'm fine."
Yeah.
When you're not fine. It's like, right. Okay, just be honest about how you're feeling right now.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm irritated with you. I'm frustrated with you. I'm angry with you. You have made me sad. Like whatever you need to say, but being able to express the emotions and be able to verbalize them and know the difference between sad and disappointed. Those are not the same. And so I think it's a really good study for you to maybe just even look into, like pull up on Google or Chat GTP a list of emotions and the differences. Because suppressing your emotions are not going to help you at all.
Yeah, and so this is where we're kind of picking up from last time. And Lysandra, you were talking about just denying or suppressing your emotions, what that kind of looks like, saying I'm fine. We did touch on this last time. Saying I'm fine when you're not, avoiding difficult conversations, which you admitted last time that, you had a hard time with that. And you've gotten so much better about it. I think about one of the conversations you had just yesterday with one of your clients, bringing up the conversation about money. And, of course, that's never a conversation you want to have, but, being more, I'm just better at having these kind of hard conversations.
More assertive.
Yeah. We talked about distracting yourself to avoid feeling, whatever that looks like, which is, I am the chaplain for Pfluger County Fire Rescue, and first responders are notorious for this. They go through a lot, they see a lot, they carry a lot because of what they do, and rather than feeling it and facing their emotions and dealing with them, they will often distract themselves. A lot of times it's by overworking. And people will overwork, not just talking about firefighters, but just people in general, drinking some sort of substance, things like that, just get lost in their phone or TV or whatever. And so here's why it's damaging. Okay. Emotions don't disappear.
So true.
They don't disappear. Now, they may go underground, but this is what happens. Suppressed emotions often show up later. So they will come out some way, shape, or form in your life. You may not realize that is why you're doing that, or why you're having that response is because you're suppressing your emotions and not truly feeling them and showing them as you should and dealing with them. It's like, I think about an earthquake. You will often get little signs that there's something going on. Or maybe like, just the other day in Hawaii, the volcano went off like crazy and was like shooting, I can't remember. I think lava is when it comes out. Magma is maybe when it's still in the ground or whatever. It's been way too long since I studied that. If you're watching on YouTube now, go ahead and feel free to put it in the comments and let me know what's what. But before that thing erupts, there's always this seismic activity to let you know,
it's coming.
Yeah. And that's the way it is with our emotions. If you don't deal with it, there's going to be other things that happen, and then all of a sudden there's major blowouts. But your emotions can come out later as anxiety, depression, could be physical illness, it manifests itself physically in our body. And so
that is what I get.
Yeah, you get headaches a lot of times and stuff.
I end up with a lot of tension in my shoulders, and then I get headaches. And it's really crazy because there are times when something will happen. It's usually a relational issue. So a relationship is going to go bad. And it is or
you think it's going to go bad.
Yeah. I can feel my blood pressure rising, and my head, the blood in my head is pumping very hard, and my muscles are getting tight. And all of a sudden it's just like a migraine. And I know, I'm like, okay, this is happening because I'm worried about this situation. I've got to give this to God and take some Motrin.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So even if we try to suppress our emotions, like they're gonna come out.
It comes out some way, shape, or form. Like I often will like rock my knee back and forth.
And give me seasickness.
Yeah. She's constantly like, we're out somewhere and I don't even know I'm doing it. She'll constantly like set her hand on my leg just to kind of like, hey, you're doing it again.
Yeah, you're making me sick and not to move.
You're doing it again.
Yeah, it's really funny because he does it when the girls are playing volleyball, especially if the score is close.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden he's just like shaking. And I'm like, goodness, I gotta go sit on a different bleach.
Yep. So that emotion is coming out of me.
Coming out physically.
Yeah. It's like I'm not allowed in a Christian setting to yell at the refs.
No, why not? You're not allowed to yell at the refs anyway.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because you are a Christian. And just in Christian setting.
True. So it is damaging because of, just the effects that it has in that way. But it's also damaging because it blocks connection. People can sense emotional distance. It creates this barrier. So,
yes.
For instance, we're talking and focusing mostly on relationship between husband and wife, but I think it's true in all of our relationships, whether it's with your kids or with your parents or whatever. If I'm upset with Lysandra about whatever it is, and I don't share that with her, I'm not being open, I'm not being honest with her, that is a breakdown in our relationship. If Lysandra's pretending everything's fine when it's really not, it creates a barrier between us. Instead of being open and honest and freely communicating, now each of us in our own way are building up these emotional walls that creates that distance. It also undermines self-trust. You say, well, how? What does that have to do with anything? When you ignore your own feelings, it sends the message that your inner world isn't valid or worth listening to.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of it, because as a person who struggles with emotional integrity, like naturally, I have to fight against this. I can often do that. I try to convince myself that my emotions aren't valid. So like, I'm sad. Well, you shouldn't be sad. Just, you have so many things to be thankful for. Why would you be sad? Or don't be angry. It wasn't really their fault. You made mistakes. You were the one who caused this. And so trying to almost convince yourself that the emotions are not real or they're not allowed. They're not valid. So this is something that I do.
And so what happens, this can lead to eventual explosions, like we're talking about with either earthquakes or the volcano, or you've got all this pressure building up, and then all of a sudden, like, boom. And with a volcano, I mean, unless it's Vesuvius, like out there in Hawaii, think of that volcano, there's really nothing around there. So it's kind of cool to see. Or some of these ones you watch in Iceland. Iceland is on my list of places I really want to travel to. And so I'm in a bunch of Facebook groups about Iceland and traveling to Iceland. And so when the volcanoes erupt, the videos come across and I think it's so cool. But when it's in proximity to people that you love,
right,
that's not cool anymore.
Exactly.
And the same is true for our emotions. When we blow up, it really impacts negatively the people who are around us. So it's better if we can deal with things ahead of time to prevent these major explosions that can cause hurt and damage and division.
Okay, so let's have a real life example of emotional integrity and emotional maturity.
Okay, like real life, you're going to tell this is us, or you just hypothetical?
Hypothetical in any relationship. This is not us. No.
Okay.
Okay, but let's say that you feel jealous in your marriage relationship. Something comes up that brings on jealousy. If you are not emotionally mature, the way that you're going to react to that is you lash out. You start maybe screaming at your partner. Maybe you accuse your spouse and you accuse them of cheating on you or all of these different things. Or another way that you could lash out is passive aggressively.
Yeah.
And that's not pretty either.
Which, looking back at when we were dating and stuff, this is like a real life example of us, because I was not emotionally mature. I'm more now, put it that way. But I would be very jealous. No, I wasn't jealous, like worried about you being in a relationship with some other guy or whatever.
Worried about me cheating.
It was like jealous of your time spent with other people.
Yes, but there was one guy who was hitting on me, and you threatened to like kill us.
Hypothetically, I did.
Hypothetically, you were very emotionally mature.
Yeah.
But yes, you were jealous of every moment of my time. And I had a lot going on in my life at that time.
I mean, you got a lot going on now. I'm still as jealous, but I'm fine.
You're jealous, but you handle it better.
Yeah. Because I want to spend every second with you. I just love being with you. You're such an amazing person. I don't want to share you with anyone.
You're very sweet. I came home from work yesterday and I started baking the cookies for the fire stations. And he's just like kind of hanging around.
Just came downstairs, sat in my chair so we could kind of be in the same vicinity.
I just like it when I see your face. It's very sweet.
But this is a real life, as far as us, like in our relationship. Now it's not like that anymore, and it hasn't been for like 20 years. But it definitely happens.
So if you don't have emotional integrity, then the other side of that is you would deny it. You would pretend like nothing's happening. You wouldn't say anything, even though you are feeling very jealous. You act like it's no big deal. Like you try to talk yourself out of your jealousy. And all the while you grow resentful inside. So let's take the same example. What if you are emotionally healthy? You have the maturity and you have the integrity. Then what you do is you take time to understand the jealousy. Okay. So you say, all right, why did it make me jealous that my husband had a conversation with an ex-girlfriend from high school, that was just 20 years ago, but he had a conversation with her at a barbecue in public, and I felt extremely jealous. Why did I feel jealous? Was there really anything happening? Was this the same as if you would have seen a friend from high school that was a male? And working in your mind through all of that, that's the emotional maturity. And then the emotional integrity comes in where you share it honestly with your husband. And you would say, babe, I just need to talk to you about this. I noticed that I felt insecure when you were over there talking to your ex-girlfriend from high school. And I don't actually think anything is going on.
You think she's hotter than you?
You didn't have a girlfriend.
No, I'm asking why are you jealous? Is she hotter than you?
Maybe you think she's hotter than you. Well, I think typically all women think every woman is hotter than they are, right?
I don't think every woman.
Well, most likely. We all think that somebody else is prettier, somebody else is hotter, whatever you want to say. But you would say, I felt insecure when you were talking to her. And I know that this is a me issue because I don't actually think that you're having an affair or anything. But can we just talk about this? And can we talk about maybe why I would be feeling this way? Can we talk about some boundaries that I want to make sure we have in place so that this doesn't go any further? So there's the emotional end.
Okay. And then you can have an open, honest communication about it, conversation, and deal with it. And let's kind of shift the conversation just a little bit and talk about how emotional maturity and integrity strengthen your marriage relationship, strengthen your parenting as well. So in marriage, you're talking about emotional integrity, having honesty in your emotions. You're transparent about what you feel, which builds trust.
Right.
And I think we all have been in situations where we didn't know what to expect from a certain person.
It's a terrible.
And if it's somebody you're married to, it's like, I just don't know how to react or how to act around them because I never know what side of them is going to come out. I never actually know where I stand with them.
And Tom, this is interesting. I'll use Thomas as an example because I have people tell me all the time, that's an exaggeration. I have people tell me sometimes that Thomas is very intense or intimidating or whatever. And
I'm like, this high guys?
The muscles.
Yeah.
But he is just kind of a serious, quiet person most of the time. And what I often tell them is I say, I understand what you're saying, but let me tell you something. Thomas will always tell you how he feels. Like, you will always know where you stand with him. You don't ever have to guess or wonder. Like, whatever it is, he's just going to let you know. And for me, that's so comforting. Like, I don't ever have to wonder if Thomas is upset with me. If he's upset with me, I already know that he's upset with me because he's told me. And that's very comforting, and it does really build trust in the relationship.
Yeah. And there is trust in knowing that your partner is going to be real with you.
Yeah.
That they're going to be authentic.
It brings peace and safety. I don't have to worry about this. I'm calm and relaxed because I know that my spouse is going to be real with me.
It also, I think, shows consistency. Like, your actions align with your feelings and values. And that's one of those things that builds trust as well. It reduces confusion and mixed messages. So, I know exactly what's going on. I know what the situation is.
Living in a relationship with mixed messages is extremely frustrating and very exhausting. It's tiresome because you're just constantly trying to work out, well, did they mean that or did they mean that? Those don't go together. Which was being real? What do they actually want me to do? And that's just living like that, where it's not just every once in a while, but it's like your life. That is exhausting. And that's not how we are supposed to be with our spouses. We're supposed to be real with them, and that's the emotional integrity.
Yeah, I don't want to have to come home and be Sherlock Holmes all the time and try to figure out, this mystery is is this really what you mean, or is this, something else? There's a lot of issues that will come from that, the frustration, resentment, and all that kind of stuff. Also, accountability. You take ownership of your emotional responses instead of blaming your partner, which fosters respect and safety in the relationship.
That's right. All right. So emotional maturity in a marriage relationship. What is good about this? When you are emotionally mature, you have self-regulation, so you can manage your anger and frustration or jealousy without lashing out. And when you can do that, it's going to reduce conflict and escalation. So rather than always getting into a fight, always getting into an issue, or when you are in a fight or an argument, you escalate. So rather than those things, it's going to bring peace, calm. You're going to be able to get to resolutions in your issues so much faster.
Yeah.
The other thing that the maturity brings is empathy, because you see things from your spouse's perspective. And this is something Thomas and I worked really hard at. We try constantly to see okay, how could that have been interpreted that way? All right, I see how you could feel that way in that situation. I understand how my response made you think I was angry or whatever. And we say this a lot back and forth.
Well, and there's just something reassuring about that, of knowing that your spouse is working to understand or does understand why you responded that way or why you feel that way. And so that's such a powerful thing in a relationship,
right?
That I think we all could do a little bit better on. We try to always do that, but I would encourage you, if you're listening, to walk a mile in your partner's shoe, your spouse's shoe, and try to understand exactly what they're going through.
Yeah. And that is going to deepen connection and compassion.
Yeah.
It will make your marriage better. It also is going to help in conflict resolution, which we've already talked about a little bit, but you can navigate disagreements without shutting down or becoming defensive. And when those things happen, that leads to unhealthy communication. But if you can avoid shutting down, if you can avoid becoming defensive, if you can avoid lashing out, then you're going to have healthy communication, and you're going to get through situations and disagreements a lot quicker and with a lot less collateral damage.
Well, and I think about just how far we've come in 22 years of marriage. The arguments that we have now that would have lasted a lot longer, now we're fighting a lot of times very quickly.
Yeah.
And it's resolved because the emotional maturity and emotional integrity have kind of kicked in, and we understand and know how to work through situations a lot easier.
Let's use one example that happened just last week.
Good, fill me in. I want to know what it was.
You'll remember once I start talking about it. But so we actually were able to have a little conflict resolution via text very quickly. And that was, I sent Thomas a flirty text and he didn't respond to it.
Oh, yeah.
And I was crushed. And I've been married 22 years. Oh my goodness. I was crushed because my husband didn't respond to a flirty text. It's so stupid. And so I texted Thomas and I said,
Here, should I read it on the air?
Feeling sad. I don't know, because I didn't pre-read any. I didn't pre-read what we said back and forth. But
we have texted a lot.
We text a lot. I'm going by memory, but basically what I said is like, I'm feeling sad. And so then he responded with, why are you feeling sad? And I said, because I sent you a flirty text and you didn't respond to it.
I'm sorry. I'm scrolling here, and Lysandra, she has sent a picture of my underwear on the kitchen floor. She came home and she goes, why is a pair of her underwear on the kitchen floor? Are you having an affair in my kitchen?
I forgot about that. That is so funny.
Yes, I had changed clothes in the van, and I was bringing my clothes in when I got back from the gym, and it fell. That was really funny.
And my next question, if I remember correctly, was, are they dirty?
Clean or dirty? Yeah. Yeah, that was really funny.
Oh, yeah. We should just
go through and laugh. I mean, we can't read all
these things.
I'm trying to see if I can find it.
Basically, you were like, you said something to the effect of, I understand why you would feel that way, and I'm sorry that I didn't respond or something. And then you did respond to my flirtation. And I was still sad. Like, I still felt a little rejected, like, let's be honest. But at least the air was clear between us. So it's really important to do that.
So let's talk a little bit about biblical principles for expressing emotions in a healthy, God-honoring way.
Yeah, there is a theory out there that emotions are sinful.
Yeah, which is crazy because you look all throughout Scripture and you see that God, he exhibits emotions. We are created in His image as emotional beings, and so there's nothing wrong with emotions. I've already quoted the verse in Ephesians 4:26, "Be angry and do not sin," and it's like, we're literally told by the Apostle Paul, he tells the Christians in Ephesus, you can be angry. Like, anger is an emotion. Now, what you do while you're angry and with that anger is the real key issue. That's true of all of our emotions.
Right. And I think about how you just said, we're created in God's image. And when I think about God's image, I think about like, okay, how many emotions can I think about that God displays in Scripture? He gets angry.
Yep. Sad.
Scripture. Sad. Jealous. He says, I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God.
Yeah.
Love. He feels love toward us. What else can we think of? I mean, we're spitballing.
Like, there's a wide range in there, compassion and so I would say that most emotions we find in Scripture. With a couple of minutes, I could look it up and get a list. But
if that is something like where you grew up hearing that emotions were wrong, then I do recommend doing a study of all of the emotions God felt that are clearly laid out in Scripture, because you need to understand that's not true. That's something that you're believing that isn't true. And you cannot go against Scripture. You can't deny the Word of God.
Yeah.
And so when you see in there, when it says, that God says He's a jealous God, or that He says that He loves, or He had compassion on them, or whatever it may be, then you need to understand, okay, it's not wrong for me to be angry. God was angry. God doesn't sin. God was sad. I can be sad. It doesn't mean it's a sin. God was sad and God does not sin.
Well, it's like going back to what we talked about, how a lot of us, my generation and before, were taught, hey, boys don't cry. Which is absurd if you're a follower of Jesus, because like Jesus is our ultimate example of what we should be. I think he's the ultimate example of what a true man looks like and what godly and proper masculinity looks like. And more than once we find Jesus weeping.
Yeah.
And Jesus crying. Like that is an appropriate emotion in a certain situation. And he modeled that for us. He modeled all of, like we talked about, not just God, but Jesus, our Savior, who we know is God in the flesh. Like, he loved, he showed sorrow, he got angry, he got upset. I mean, you talk about somebody who, at one point, he's weeping when his friend Lazarus dies, weeping over a city, and then turns around, he's angry at the people who are taking advantage of the poor at the temple and profiting off of them. And so he grabs a whip, and he starts whipping people and turning tables over, which was not like a 2-second ordeal. Like, we have been to that place in Jerusalem, and it is a very large place. There would have been a lot of people, a lot of tables, a lot of stuff going on. And the love, the compassion, all that kind of stuff, the mercy, like he represented all of it. So their emotions are God-given, but they ought to be expressed in a healthy and a God-honoring way. There's a right way to express all of our emotions, and there's a wrong way, I think, to express all of them as well. Psalm 62:8 says this: "Trust in him at all times, O people. Pour out your heart before him. God is a refuge for us." And so I think one of the things that we can do is we can bring our raw emotions to God in prayer. So whatever it is you're feeling, he says, hey, pour out your heart before him. So whatever you're feeling, and I love this, you don't have to clean them up first. We see this throughout Scripture a lot of times in the Psalms with David and his prayers. Here's the man after God's own heart, and he was freely pouring out all of his emotions. There's times where he is angry and upset. He's like, God, just wipe out all my enemies, right? And then there's other times where he's praying for compassion and for mercy, and he just he has an open, honest conversation with God about how he's feeling, what he's going through. And God is inviting you to pour out your emotions before him. He can handle your grief, your anger, your fear, your confusion, all of it. And so we have that opportunity to come and just pour it out before him.
And it is so good to have emotions. It is a good thing. It is what God wants for us. It is how he created us. And in Romans 12:15, this is a verse that is so beautiful. We use it a lot in church settings, especially us. We use it in our church setting a lot. Rejoice with those who rejoice and weep with those who weep. You're seeing emotions, the two ends of the spectrum there of emotions. And we are commanded to have these emotions with those who have them. So think about this in terms of your marriage. When your spouse is sad, you should be sad with them. And why? Because you love them enough to have empathy. Empathy is understanding and feeling that emotion with them, letting it affect you, letting their emotion affect your emotion. And so when I see my spouse crying, I go over there and I put my arm around him and I cry with him because I feel so deeply the way that he feels. When your spouse has that promotion, or when your spouse has success in a extended family relationship, or your spouse reaches a physical goal, rejoice with them. When they're happy, be happy. You might not feel happy yourself because maybe you haven't gotten your promotion or you haven't achieved your health goals, but you need to be happy with them and rejoice with them because you're feeling what they feel. And so another situation here, another verse in Scripture here where we have proof it's okay to have emotion. Emotions are not evil.
Ephesians 4:26, be angry and do not sin, do not let the sun go down on your anger. And so there are appropriate things to be angry about. I mean, you spend any amount of time looking at any headlines, and there's a lot to be angry about. I mean, people being murdered, families being torn apart, assassinations, like all this horrible stuff that people are doing to each other all around the world. There are things that ought to make us angry and make us upset, right? But what do we do with that anger? And what we need to do is we need to take that anger and move it in a positive direction. Typically, what we do with anger a lot of times is we get destructive with it. We punch a wall. We use words to tear people down. We destroy stuff, like we hurt people. Instead of doing that, we need to shift it in a positive direction so that it's, hey, that's nothing wrong. It's not a bad emotion. It is just an emotion. So what do we do with that? And we learn to focus that energy that comes from our anger into a positive direction where we're righting wrongs, where we're helping people, where we're, building and encouraging and doing whatever it is that's making us angry. We're working to try to fix and resolve and make sure that doesn't happen to somebody else or against somebody else.
Allow that anger to become the motivation for good. Practical steps. Let's talk about practical steps. It's how we love to do our episodes where you can have something that you can actually put into practice in your home. And we want to help you create a safe space for emotions in your home. We are really focusing in on marriage, but this is going to affect your children too. So does your spouse feel comfortable expressing their emotions? Are they allowed to have emotions? And this is something that we have tried to do in our home, but I'm not going to lie and pretend like we're perfect. We don't do that. There have been times when my girls have been like, you tell me it's okay for me to have emotions, but I'm sad right now and you're not letting me be sad. And I'm like, touche. You are right. Okay. Be sad, but you still have to do your chores.
Yeah. Yeah.
So think about that, because sometimes I've been like, oh yeah, I guess I'm not letting you be sad right now.
Well, and it's like we've been here. We just a couple weeks ago we crossed our 4-year anniversary of being here in Florida, and we did podcast episode on the transition and all that kind of stuff. We've kind of been open about that whole journey, and we're at a place now where all of us are so happy and so excited. And we love being here in Florida. But for our daughters, it's been a journey to get here. And now they're very happy. Now they're all like, hey, this is home. I think of our daughter, Isabella, who chose to go to college 45 minutes away from us when she could have packed up and moved states away. Says a lot about how each of our daughters, and that's just one example, that, hey, they're happy now. But I think of the first year was the hardest, and probably the first 3 or 4 months where, finally, me and Lysandra had a conversation and said, hey, we're just going to let them feel however they feel. And we were kind of very gracious, very merciful, very lenient in how we dealt with them and their attitudes about Florida and about the move. And then finally, it got to a point where we sat down and had a meeting with them. And I told them, I said, they were getting ready after Christmas, I think, to go back to Iowa with their grandparents and visit all their friends and their cousins and all the stuff. And so I sat down with them and I said, listen, you're allowed to feel however you feel right now. So I'm not trying to change the way that you feel. It's okay to feel sad. It's okay to feel hurt. It's okay to feel betrayed. Like, whatever you want to feel is fine. But it's not okay to mistreat people because of how you feel. It's not okay to misrepresent certain things. For instance, people would ask like a natural question, like whether it's somebody they know from Iowa or somebody here, hey, how do you like living in Florida? Or what do you like about living in Florida? And, they would just crap on Florida.
Nothing.
Nothing.
I don't like anything.
Nothing good. And it's like, that's not true. There are things that you do like. And so you need to be honest, have integrity about your emotions, but you also need to have some emotional maturity. Like, you're not allowed, just because you feel angry or upset or hurt, you're not allowed to mistreat people.
Right. And the best way that you can create a safe space for emotions in your home is to model emotional honesty. You've got to model it yourself. You can't tell your kids or your spouse, like, I don't want you to lash out at me when you're lashing out at everybody.
Right. Yeah.
So how can you have that emotional integrity and also not lose control with that emotional maturity, right? If you want your spouse to feel safe expressing themselves, then you need to go first. So maybe you see that your spouse is really stressed, they're uptight, something's off and you don't know what it is. Maybe you need to go first and say, listen, love, I am feeling like there's distance between us and it's really upsetting me. It's affecting how I think, it's affecting how I go about my day. It's actually affecting my work and it's really upsetting me. I want to get this all aired out. Can we talk about it? Can you share with me what's going on? So you go first and you're the one who's vulnerable. You're the one who's open. You're talking about how you feel in a calm and respectful way. That is going to model it, and it's going to show your spouse you can model, you can have emotional maturity, you can have emotional integrity, you can feel in this house too.
And the way to do that is through I feel statements. You know, I feel overwhelmed today, instead of never help me.
Right.
You never help me.
And so let's look back at our personal example of I sent the flirty text and there was no response. I didn't come back with him and say at him and say, you're so mean to me.
Oh, you're not interested in me anymore.
You don't love me anymore. What I did was I texted him and I said,
I don't think love was the issue. I think it was lust, but you don't listen to me anymore.
Exactly. I texted him and I said, I feel sad. That was how I started the conversation because that was how I felt. I didn't come at him and attack him. So I feel statement.
Which was a great way to start the conversation, because then immediately, like, I'm curious. I love Lysandra more than any human on this planet. And so when she comes and she says, I feel sad, like, I am immediately, like, on her side. Whatever the situation is. I want to know, what do you feel sad? Because to me, it came out of the blue. Like, which is, let's be honest, most things for me come out of the blue. Like, I am blissfully unaware. Like, I think everything's good all of the time. Well, not all the time, but most of the time. So it was like one of those things where, like, oh no, like, what do you feel sad about? So even though it was like something I didn't do that made her feel that way, I'm immediately on her side. And so when she comes back and tells me exactly why, it's like, I'm sorry. Like, I don't want to make you feel sad. I was not trying to ignore you or downplay, and I forget exactly what I was doing at the time.
You were on your phone using it for something else, and you didn't open up the text or something.
Yeah. It wasn't something where I could jump right to it. And you thought I was in a situation where I should just jump right to it.
Yeah. I thought you were available, and I was like, wow, that hurt.
Yeah. Like, making advances towards me, and I'm just ignoring it. Yeah. Because she came at it from, like, not an accusatory manner, like, the situation was resolved very quickly, versus if she came at it from the point aspect of, like, you're not interested in me anymore, then what I do is I immediately go defensive.
Right, absolutely.
And I immediately start to explain myself, instead of, like, right away she has me on her side, and right away I'm like, hey, I'm sorry, that's because I'm already on her side. Like, I want to resolve the situation. I don't want her to feel that way. I definitely don't want to be the one making her feel that way. So when we use these statements, and it's more about, like, I'm explaining how I feel right now, and I'm not trying to put anything on you, it's going to be resolved. And I think also just this idea of admit when you're struggling without dumping emotions on others. Like, just that text of, like, I feel sad. So she's just opening up, being honest, having that emotional integrity, and she's not trying to dump her emotions on me and make me feel a certain way. She's just explaining, this is how I feel. I think it also, you have to show that feelings are normal, not shameful. And that's one of the things that it does. Is, hey, emotions are normal. And I think that's important in a house full of girls for them to understand. Like, there's a lot of emotions going on, and emotions are normal. And I'm thankful that I live in a house full of women. Like, it's taught me a lot about my own emotions and how to deal with my emotions and deal with the emotions of the people around me in a great way. But when we're talking about, using these kind of statements, you're being open, you're being honest. I think of Ephesians 4:25. It says this: "Let each one of you speak the truth with his neighbor, for we are members one of another." And of course, he's talking about Christians and the community that we have in that body. But how much more and is it of, hey, two becoming one flesh, and we're literally members one of another. And so, speaking truth with let's change the word neighbor to speak truth with your spouse, speak truth with your partner.
Another way to create a safe space for emotions in your home is to practice active listening. And you're going to do this without trying to fix, without judging whatever they're saying to you. Because a safe space means people know that they're not going to be ignored, but they're also not going to be judged.
Yeah.
And you're not going to shut down when they share with you. So you need to give full attention when people are talking to you in your home. When your spouse talks to you, you should put that phone down. Now, you may have to say, 1 second, I'm sending this email for work. Give me 1 second.
Yep.
And I think that's a really good practice in this day and age of phones because, our phones they're not just for fun. A lot of the times I'm not on my phone for fun. I'm actually working. So let me get this email off because I have a client waiting on the other end to hear the response so that they can move forward on their end. Give me 1 second. All right, that's sent. Phone down. Tell me what you need to tell me. What's going on? Eye contact. Listening fully.
Yeah.
Now the TV, that can be turned off right away. You don't need to say, wait till this episode's over.
Yeah.
The TV, the episode will be there later.
Everything's now is pretty much on demand. Even that's, football, the game you're watching, like, you could literally pause it.
Yeah. It's not the 90s where, like, you had to run to the kitchen to get your bowl of cereal in between Saturdays and wine. Run and chill. School home and come to phone cartoons. You were like, well, no, that. I literally remember doing that. I know everybody who's our age or older is like, yes. But anyway, so yeah, you want to not multitask when your spouse is sharing their feelings with you. This is not the time to multitask. This is not the time to be on your phone. You need to respond with empathy. When they tell you something, even if it's kind of stupid to you, respond with empathy. That sounds really hard. Like, I'm trying to put myself in your shoes. Yeah, I would not like that either. Whatever you have to do to validate what they're saying.
Honestly validate.
Honestly.
Like, if it doesn't sound really hard, don't say that sounds really hard, but I know what you're saying.
But if you can get into it and you can be like, okay, I'm putting myself in your shoes. If I were you, that would be really hard. Because I wish you guys on the podcast could see Thomas's face.
She's basically like, yeah, if I was stupid like you, that'd be hard for me also.
Hey, if your spouse ain't too smart, you can get away with that.
Yeah.
I do it all the time.
Change the password on your phone by yourself.
Thanks. I can't.
Something really hard.
Okay, here's a phrase. Shush. That's my anger is making me leave. All right, listen.
What not to do.
Here's a phrase never, ever, ever to say to your spouse. You're overreacting. That is never, ever helpful.
Yeah.
Coconut just hopped off the bed up.
He thinks we're done.
He thinks we're done. We high-five it.
We are almost done.
We are. We got to finish this up. Even Coconut thinks we should be done. But you don't necessarily need to try to solve their problems or preach at them, but they just need to know that you are there in your presence. You're not there for answers. You're there to listen and to hear and to just hear their emotions. That will create a safe space in your home.
One way to do this is to regulate your own reactions. So if people fear your outbursts, silence, or passive aggressive, they will not feel safe opening up. And this is the thing. You can't control others' emotions. You can't control what they do. You can control, though, how you respond. So you may need to sometimes take breaks. Hey, I want to keep talking about this, but I need a few minutes just to calm down, just to chill out for a second. Also, don't react to tone. Listen for what's underneath the tone. And then apologize when you mess up. Humility builds safety. If you lose your cool, just own it. Hey, you know what? I was out of line. I should not have hit you while we were recording the podcast. You should say, if you did that to your husband on the podcast.
No, thanks. Validate without always agreeing. And this is kind of what Thomas was talking about. Don't say that would be really hard if you don't actually think it's hard. You're not trying to lie in these conversations, but validation doesn't necessarily mean that you approve of everything that somebody feels, but it's just recognizing that their feelings are real and that they are worth listening to. Yes, you were afraid. Yes, you did get hurt. Yes, you are anxious, whatever it is. So what you can say is something like this. I can see how you would feel that way.
Yeah.
So it's not that you are saying, yeah, I'd feel that way too. Maybe you wouldn't feel that way, but you can say, I see how you would feel that way. So just don't minimize. It's not a big deal. In the beginning of our marriage, Thomas did this one a lot. Do you remember? It's not a big deal. You told me that was like, that was your go-to phrase.
Because most things to me are not a big deal.
Yeah. And most things to me
are a big deal. Yeah.
Usually.
Yeah.
And we've both kind of come more to the middle of that, or haven't we? But don't say it's not a big deal. This is kind of an interesting thing that sometimes Christians can do. It's called spiritual bypassing.
Yeah.
Just pray about it. Just pray about it. And basically you're saying like, you don't have a right to feel that way. Just pray about it and get rid of the emotion.
Or if you just had enough faith.
Yeah, then you would.
That's another one.
You don't have enough faith. That's why you feel that way. Let people feel what they feel. Okay. Now you do eventually want to get to truth. You do eventually want to get to resolution, but let them feel what they feel, just like you want to feel what you feel.
And then the last thing we'll talk about when it comes to this and modeling it is set boundaries that protect, not punish. Right? So we're not trying to punish our spouse. We're not trying to punish our children or our in-laws or whoever else. But we do want to protect relationships. So a safe emotional environment includes limits. And I think back to this conversation that Lysandra was having about an illustration about jealousy over talking to an ex. Now, there might be a good reason why you feel that jealousy, right? There may be an actual legitimate reason for that. But if that happens and that jealousy comes up, maybe out of nowhere, and you didn't even realize it until it happened, like, I'm not going to set a boundary to punish my wife for having a conversation with an ex of hers from high school. Like, that's not a healthy thing to do. Now, it is healthy to set boundaries that protect your own personal relationship and your marriage. So you think about what a safe emotional environment includes. It includes limits, especially around harmful words, around yelling or emotional manipulation. And so one of the ways that you do this is by making house values clear. So what are the values in our home? What are the values in our relationship? And if you've not taken time to sit down and have a conversation about this, like what are our values? Like businesses do this all the time. Organizations, churches do this. Like these are our values. You ought to have values that are values for your home, values for your marriage. For instance, hey, we speak respectfully even when we're upset. Like respecting one another is a value in our home. It's a value in our relationship. And so we're going to, make those very clear. I think enforcing timeouts or pauses when things escalate, like I'm not doing this to punish. Like I'm not trying to shut you down right now. I want to avoid any more damage. I don't want to add to the situation. And so, hey, I'm not trying to silence you or any of that.
Let's take a time out.
Right? I want to protect the relationship. I don't want to overreact in this moment. I'm a little heated. I'm a little charged up. Let me just calm down for a little bit. And then you are going to come back and re-engage the conversation after emotions cool. But it's like, I'm not trying to shut you down or silence you to punish you. This is for the protection of the relationship.
And so if you want to create a safe space in your home for your spouse to have emotions, for you to have emotions, for your children to have emotions, these are some of the ways that you can do that. And we want to close out today's episode. I want to share this verse from you from Colossians chapter 3, 12 and 13. It says, put on then compassionate hearts. You are supposed to have a tender heart. If you are a follower of Jesus, your heart should be tender, which means emotional.
Yeah.
And you're able to feel those things. Put on compassionate hearts, kindness, humility, meekness, patience, bearing with one another. All of that really ties into what we've been talking about today. And maybe this is an area where you really struggle in your relationship. Maybe you or your spouse struggles with emotional maturity or emotional integrity. So what we have for you today is a bonus resource, and that is Healthy Emotional Expression Worksheet. We can email this to you. All you have to do is shoot us an email at info@familymeeting.org and ask for this bonus resource from episode 161, Healthy Emotional Expression Worksheet. And we will send that to you, and it's something you or you and your spouse can do together to work on your emotional maturity and your emotional integrity.
So the family meeting for this week is to continue the conversation you started last time. Last time you sat down with your spouse and you talked about emotional maturity, emotional integrity, and how you can personally grow in each of these areas. We became vulnerable. We asked some questions so that we could then learn and grow. And as you continue the conversation this week, you want to talk about how you can practically take steps for creating a safe place for emotions in your home. And so what does that look like? What are the steps that we need to take? Maybe it has to do with modeling emotional honesty. Maybe it's practicing active listening without fixing or judging. Maybe you need to learn to regulate your own reactions, validate without always agreeing, or setting boundaries that protect, not punish. Which are the areas? And it may be different depending on the emotion for you. So each emotion may take you may need a different step for each of those. What does that look like? And so you're not just talking about the areas you need to grow. Now you're saying, all right, I know these are the areas I need to grow. What are the steps I need to take so that growth can move forward?
Thank you for joining us today. Please go and subscribe to the Family Meeting Podcast from your favorite podcast provider. And if you found this information helpful, please share this episode on social media and invite your friends and family to listen in with you.
To find more content and information Lysandra and I provide, you can go to our website, familymeeting.org, or email us at info@familymeeting.org. If you'd like to shoot us a text or call us, you can send a voice message at 904-257-3062.
And we want to invite you to join us for our next family meeting, as we discuss an episode that was suggested to us by one of our listeners. We are going to talk about foster parenting next week. So this will be an interesting discussion. We are probably going to learn a lot ourselves in this one.
So possible episode title, Meet the Fosters.
Hey.
Oh, okay. All right. Thanks for joining us today for this family meeting. Have a great week, everybody. This meeting is adjourned. All right, so practical steps for showing and leading the way in healthy emotions. What are the steps that you personally need to take? You know, learn how to model it better. Reactions, what are those like? So just take the steps you need to take this week practically. Help all your relationships. When you learn to become more emotionally mature and more emotionally honest, it helps build a ground where your relationships can grow closer together instead of further apart. So take the steps you need to take today, and we'll meet you right back here next week. Talk about foster parenting. Till then, we'll see you later.